When the storm ended, the sea turned quiet, but the silence on the ship was heavy. Every crew member kept looking at the alien woman as if she carried a curse. They whispered among themselves, voices sharp and fearful. Jack could not understand. He only knew that something about her scared them more than the storm itself. The woman lay on a thin bed in Jack's small cabin, her breathing steady now. Her silver skin shone faintly in the dim light, her long white hair spread like a blanket. She looked peaceful, but Jack felt the weight of her words pressing on him. "By sacred law, I am yours," she had said. What did that even mean? Why would a stranger, an alien woman, bind herself to him with words like those? The captain stormed into the room, his face hard. "Jack," he hissed, "do you know what you have done?" Jack frowned. "I saved her life. What's wrong with that?" The captain's voice dropped lower. "You saved her, yes, but you also claimed her, and now she belongs to you. That is their law." Jack's chest tightened. He wanted to argue, but before he could, the woman's eyes opened. Her violet gaze swept across the room until it landed on him. She sat up slowly, ignoring the captain, ignoring the others, only watching Jack. "You are my bonded one now," she whispered, her voice soft but filled with certainty. Every crew member froze. Jack shook his head. "I don't own anyone. I didn't ask for this." But the alien woman did not listen. Her hand reached for his, and her grip was stronger than he expected. Her eyes shone with something he could not describe, gratitude, devotion, and a strange kind of fear. The crew backed away, muttering. One of them spat on the floor. "She is royal. If the others find out she is here, they will hunt us all." Another whispered, "Better to throw her back into the sea before the law drags us with her." Jack jumped up, anger burning in his chest. "No one is throwing her anywhere. She stays here." The captain's jaw clenched, but he did not argue. He only said, "Then you had better understand, Jack. The sacred law is older than the stars themselves. Once spoken, it cannot be broken. If she says she belongs to you, then half the galaxy will see her as yours, and the other half will want you dead." The room grew cold. The crew scattered, leaving Jack alone with the alien woman. For a long time she said nothing, only studied him. Her silence was heavy, but it was not empty. It was like she was measuring his soul. Finally she whispered, "My name is Soraya." Jack nodded. "I'm Jack." The name felt small compared to hers, but she smiled faintly, as if his name meant more than he could imagine. She leaned back against the wall, her body weak but her voice calm. "They tried to kill me," she said, eyes lowering. "That is why I was in the sea. Someone wanted the heir of the crown to vanish without a trace." Jack's blood ran cold. Heir of the crown. What had he pulled from the storm? A woman who was more than a stranger, more than royalty. She was a target, and now, because of the law, he was tied to her fate. As night fell, Soraya closed her eyes, her head resting on the pillow. Jack stayed awake beside her, the storm outside gone, but a storm inside him rising stronger with every passing minute. He had saved her life, but in doing so, he might have doomed his own. Morning came with a pale sun pushing through the clouds. The ship creaked as it moved slowly across calmer waters. But inside Jack's cabin, the air was still heavy, filled with questions that refused to leave. Soraya sat up, her silver skin glowing faintly in the weak light, her long hair damp but brushed back. She looked stronger now, yet there was sadness in her eyes. Jack handed her a small cup of water, and she took it gently, her hands trembling. "You should rest," Jack said, trying to sound calm. But Soraya shook her head. "There is no rest for me now. You must know the truth." Jack frowned. "The truth about what?" Soraya's violet eyes locked on his, and her voice carried the weight of history. "I am not just a woman from the sea. I am the blood of the crown, daughter of the queen of my people." Jack froze, the words echoing in his mind. "You're a princess?" he whispered. She nodded slowly. "And now, by sacred law, I belong to you." Jack leaned back, his heart racing. "That doesn't make sense. I don't own people. I don't want this law." Soraya's lips curved in a sad smile. "The law does not ask what you want. It is older than my mother's throne, older than the stars we sail under. If a royal is saved from death, her life becomes her savior's body and soul." Jack rubbed his temples, trying to understand. "So now everyone will think, you're mine?" "Yes," she whispered, "and they will not forgive it." A knock at the door interrupted them. The captain entered, his face dark. "Jack, we have a problem." He placed a small silver emblem on the table, shining like fire under the light. It was a crest, etched with waves and a crown. Jack glanced at Soraya, whose eyes widened. "That was hidden under her clothes," the captain said. "Proof she is no ordinary royal. She is heir to the throne." The air grew colder. Soraya's shoulders straightened, her voice steady. They will come for me and for him too, she said, nodding at Jack. The captain growled, You've put all of us in danger, Jack. If the royal hunters catch us, they will burn this ship to ashes. Jack's chest tightened, but he stood firm. I saved her. I won't let anyone harm her again. Soraya's eyes softened, but her words carried a sharp edge. You don't understand. My people are divided. Half want me alive, the other half want me gone. Saving me has tied your life to my war. Jack stared at her, speechless. He hadn't asked for this. He hadn't wanted any part of thrones or crowns. Yet when he looked into her violet eyes, he felt something strange, something deeper than fear. It wasn't just duty that made him want to protect her. It was something else, something dangerous, something like care. Soraya lowered her head, her voice breaking into a whisper. I was thrown into the sea by someone close, someone who swore loyalty to my family and yet tried to erase me. If I die, their power rises. If I live, they fall. Jack clenched his fists, anger burning. Then you're not dying. Not while I'm here. She lifted her gaze, staring at him with a mix of wonder and disbelief. You speak as if you have a choice, but remember, Jack, the law has bound us already. You are not only my savior, you are my bonded one, and until death, you are my protector. The words sank into him like stone. Jack felt the weight of it. The storm was over, but a greater storm was now inside him. Royal blood, sacred law, and a bond he never asked for but could no longer escape. And in Soraya's eyes, Jack saw the truth. This was not just about her survival anymore. It was about his, too. The ship's halls were quiet, too quiet. Men worked with their heads down, eyes avoiding Jack and Soraya. Whispers traveled like smoke. Everyone knew the truth now. The mechanic had saved a royal heir, and by sacred law, she belonged to him. But where some eyes showed fear, others showed something darker, envy and hatred. Jack felt it every time he walked the deck, every time Soraya moved by his side, wrapped in a blanket, her pale skin glowing like the moon. That night, Jack brought her a tray of food, warm bread and stew. She took it with a tired smile. Thank you, she whispered, her voice still weak from the storm. But when she lifted the spoon to her lips, she froze, her nose wrinkling, her hand shaking. What's wrong? Jack asked, his gut twisting. Soraya's eyes narrowed. Smell it, she said softly. Jack leaned closer and his stomach dropped. The stew carried a bitter scent, faint but sharp. Poison. He snatched the bowl and stormed out, his voice roaring. Who brought this food? The crew froze. None spoke. Jack slammed the tray down, stew spilling across the floor. You want her dead, he shouted. She's under my protection. The captain pushed forward, his face pale. Enough, he barked. This ship is no place for murder, but Jack, understand this. Someone doesn't want her alive, and that someone is on board. The words cut through the silence. Soraya appeared at the doorway, weak but standing, her violet eyes blazing. They fear me, she whispered. They fear what I carry because I am the crown's blood. The crew shifted uncomfortably, some looking away. One muttered, Then take her off this ship before her enemies take us all. Jack stepped between them, his fists clenched. No one touches her, he said, his voice low but sharp as steel. She stays alive, even if I have to fight every one of you. The captain glared at him, but did not argue. Instead, he picked up the silver crest they had found earlier and tossed it back onto the table. Proof enough, he said. She is not just a royal, she is the heir, the next queen if she survives long enough to claim it. Gasps echoed across the deck. Some men bowed their heads, others cursed under their breath. Soraya's shoulders straightened, though her body trembled. Her voice was steady. Yes, I am heir, and someone close to me cast me into the sea, hoping I would never rise again. Jack's stomach churned. Then the one who poisoned you. They could be working for the same hand. Soraya nodded slowly. Assassins do not always strike with a blade. Sometimes they wear a friend's face. The ship grew colder with her words, everyone glancing at one another, suspicion spreading like a sickness. Jack felt it too. Anyone here could be the enemy, hiding, waiting for the right moment. Later that night, Jack sat by Soraya's bedside, his knife in hand. She lay watching him, her eyes glowing faintly in the lantern light. You should rest, she whispered. Jack shook his head. Not until I know who wants you dead. For a long time, silence filled the room, broken only by the groan of the ship and the slap of waves outside. Then Soraya spoke again, her voice soft but heavy. They will not stop, Jack. They failed with the sea. They failed with poison, but they will try again, until one of us is gone. Jack's grip tightened on his knife, his heart burning with anger. They'll have to get through me first, he said, and though the words were brave, A chill ran down his spine, because deep down he knew the assassin was already closer than he wanted to believe. The night stretched long, but morning finally arrived with a pale glow on the horizon. Jack had not slept, his knife resting in his hand, his eyes sharp for any sign of danger. Soraya stirred awake, her violet eyes meeting his, soft but filled with unspoken worry. "You guarded me all night," she whispered. Jack nodded. "Someone tried to poison you. I won't let them try again." Her lips curved in a faint smile, but then her gaze turned distant, heavy with secrets. "There is something you must know, Jack. Something no human has ever been told." Jack leaned forward, sensing the weight in her words. Soraya sat up, her silver skin shimmering in the weak sunlight. "My people are not bound to one world. We live in hidden cities, carved beneath oceans, stretched across 3 planets, far from the eyes of strangers, a kingdom unseen, a kingdom in the stars." Jack blinked, trying to take in the truth. "Hidden cities, 3 planets, and you're their heir." She nodded slowly. "Yes, and it is why they fear me. If I rise, I will unite them. If I fall, the kingdom shatters and those who hunger for power will feast on the broken pieces." The thought twisted in Jack's chest. This was no longer just about one life. It was about an empire held together by her survival. "And the assassin?" Jack asked. "One of those who want that power?" Soraya's eyes lowered, her voice trembling. "Yes, blood of my own blood. They wish to wear the crown that was never theirs." The door burst open. The captain entered with a grim face. "We've spotted lights, a ship trailing us." Jack's heart raced. "Another cargo ship?" The captain shook his head. "No. Too fast, too sharp. Looks like a royal warship." Soraya's breath caught, fear flickering in her eyes. "They have found me," she whispered. "They will burn this vessel to ash just to erase my name." Jack stood, anger rising like fire. "We can't just give you up." But the captain slammed his fist against the wall. "Do you understand what you're saying? That ship could destroy us in seconds, and they will if they know she's here." Soraya's gaze hardened, her voice stronger than before. "Then they must not know. We will not run. We will go deeper." Jack frowned. "Deeper?" Her eyes glowed faintly, like a secret flame. "There is a place below, under the waters of this world, an ancient passage that leads to one of my people's sanctuaries. A city built in silence, guarded by creatures of the deep. It is the only place we may find safety, and the only place I can still claim who I am." The crew murmured in fear. The thought of diving into alien seas chilled their bones. But Jack looked at Soraya and saw not just a princess, but a leader carrying a kingdom's weight. "If that's where you need to go," he said firmly, "then that's where we'll take you." Soraya's lips parted, surprise flickering before her expression softened. "You would risk your life for mine," she whispered. Jack met her gaze without hesitation. "I already did, remember? The law may say you belong to me, but I say I belong to protecting you." Her violet eyes shone with something unspoken, something warmer than fear. For the first time, she let herself believe in him. Outside, the shadow of the warship grew larger on the horizon, its sleek black form cutting across the sea like a blade. The crew scrambled, preparing the vessel for the dive. Soraya's hand brushed Jack's as the ship turned. Her voice was steady now, strong as the waves. "Our enemies wait in the stars, but our hope lies beneath the sea, in the kingdom they have forgotten." And with that, the human ship tilted forward, plunging into waters darker than the storm, carrying Jack and Soraya toward a world hidden in silence, where destiny and danger would meet again. The ship groaned as it cut deeper into the alien waters. Darkness wrapped around them, broken only by faint glows from strange creatures drifting outside the windows. Every man on board was tense, gripping their stations, eyes darting nervously. Jack stayed close to Soraya, his hand never far from his knife. But Soraya seemed calmer than the crew, her violet eyes fixed on the deep as if she was watching old memories rise again. At last, she turned to him, her voice soft but serious. "Jack, before we reach the sanctuary, there is something you must understand, something the law demands." Jack frowned. "Another secret?" Her lips curved in a sad smile. "Not a secret, a truth. When a royal is saved, the law binds her to her savior. But that bond is not complete until the ritual is done." Jack leaned closer. "Ritual?" She nodded, her silver skin glowing faintly in the dim cabin light. "It is what you might call a wedding, silent but binding. Once done, no one can deny the bond. Not the people, not the council, not even the assassins." Jack blinked, the words hitting harder than the storm had. "A wedding? You're saying I have to marry you? Soraya lowered her gaze, her voice almost a whisper. If we do not, then anyone may challenge our bond. They may call me liar, they may call you thief, but if we do, then no power can take it away, and I will live because of you. Jack's chest tightened, his thoughts tumbling like waves. Marriage, binding law, protector and consort. He had only saved her because it was right, not because he wanted her life tied to his, but when he looked into her eyes, saw the way her voice trembled even as she tried to sound strong, he realized it wasn't just about him anymore. Why didn't you tell me this before? He asked. Her voice cracked. Because I thought you would leave me behind if you knew. Jack shook his head, his heart burning. I done. To abandon people, Soraya, and I won't abandon you, but I need to understand. This ritual, what does it mean for you? She lifted her head slowly, her violet eyes shining. It means I belong to you before all others. It means your life and mine are one. It means if you fall, I fall, and if I rise, you rise with me. Before Jack could answer, the captain burst into the cabin, his face pale. They've found us, he hissed, pointing to the radar. The warship is right above. They've locked onto our trail. The crew panicked, voices shouting, hands shaking on controls. Soraya's eyes widened, her voice urgent. If we are to survive, Jack, you must choose now. Accept the ritual, or risk being hunted as a thief of the crown. Jack's stomach nodded, his choice pressing down on him heavier than the sea itself. The warship's shadow loomed above, their weapons ready, their message clear. Hand over the air or die. Soraya stepped closer, her hand brushing against his, her voice trembling but steady. Jack, this is not about law anymore. It is about survival. They will not stop unless I stand as bonded, unless you stand with me. The crew looked at him with fear and desperation, waiting for his word. The captain growled, Well, human, will you bind yourself to her or doom us all? Jack met Soraya's gaze, his heart pounding like thunder. He had never asked for this, never dreamed of it. But now, as the warship's shadow grew darker above them, he realized there was no other way. He reached out, took her hand in his, and whispered, Tell me how to begin. Her eyes filled with tears, not of weakness, but of relief. The silent vow, she breathed, before the deep, before the stars, before each other. And as the ship trembled under the enemy's presence, Jack and Soraya spoke words older than thrones, older than wars, binding themselves in silence, a law unbreakable. The warship's shadow grew darker above them, its engines humming like a beast ready to strike. The crew trembled, whispering prayers, while the captain shouted orders, steering the vessel deeper into the sea. The water outside turned black, broken only by glowing shapes drifting past. Giant creatures of the deep, silent guardians of an ancient world. Jack stood with Soraya at the bow, her hand in his, their silent vow still fresh between them. She seemed different now, stronger, her back straighter, her violet eyes burning with a light that made the crew look at her with both awe and fear. They are following, Jack muttered, glancing at the blinking radar. Soraya nodded, her voice calm. They will not follow us much longer, not where we are going. Jack frowned. And where is that? Her lips curved into a faint, mysterious smile. To my people's hidden throne, beneath the waters, where only the worthy may enter. The captain shouted, Brace yourselves, as the ship tilted down, cutting through a narrow trench. The walls outside glowed faintly, strange symbols etched into the stone pulsing with ancient blue light. Soraya's eyes softened at the sight. The old path, it still lives, she whispered, almost to herself. Suddenly, a loud crack shook the vessel, alarms blaring. They're firing at us, one crewman cried. Explosions rocked the rear deck, the warship above releasing deadly charges, the shockwaves rattling every bone in Jack's body. Faster, Jack shouted, but the captain growled. We can't outpace them, unless... His words cut off as Soraya stepped forward, pressing her hand against the glass, her voice rising like a command. Open the gate, she whispered in her language, words rolling like a song of the sea. Outside, the glowing symbols along the trench walls flared to life. The ocean shook as the stones parted, revealing a swirling tunnel of light and weighty. Aider! The crew gasped in disbelief, their fear momentarily forgotten. The warship fired again, but the blast struck the trench walls, the tunnel already pulling the human vessel inside. For a moment, everything was chaos, currents tearing, lights blinding, but then silence returned, and the ship floated into a vast cavern glowing like a star. Jack's eyes widened, his breath caught. Before them stretched a city beneath the sea, towers of crystal and stone rising from the ocean floor, glowing with soft blue fire. bridges arching across currents, creatures swimming peacefully between domes of light. It was more beautiful than any world he had ever seen. The crew stared in awe, whispering. Soraya's face softened, tears glistening in her eyes. "Home," she whispered. "The undersea throne of my mother's bloodline." Jack placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice low. "You made us believe it was real, and it is." She looked at him, her eyes shining with gratitude. "You gave me life, Jack, but here, I must fight to keep it." As the ship docked at a crystal pier, figures appeared. Tall aliens clad in flowing armor of silver and pearl, their weapons gleaming like the deep itself. They bowed when they saw Soraya, some with reverence, others with hesitation. But their leader, a stern-faced elder with eyes like stone, stepped forward, his voice echoing in the cavern. "The heir returns," he said coldly, "but not alone, and bound by foreign law." His eyes narrowed on Jack, suspicion sharp as a blade. "The human who claims her, is he fit to stand in the waters of the throne?" Jack's stomach tightened, his hand brushing the hilt of his knife. He didn't know their laws, their tests, or their ways, but he knew one thing. He would not let go of Soraya, not here, not anywhere. Soraya's hand gripped his, her voice calm but firm. "He is not just my savior, he is my bonded one, and he will face whatever trial you demand." The elder's eyes flickered, then he nodded slowly. "Then let him prove it, in the trial of the deep." The word struck Jack like a blade. "The trial of the deep," the elder had said, his tone carrying no kindness. The crew shifted nervously, some whispering that Jack would never return from such a test. Jack kept his jaw tight, his hand still holding Soraya's. "What trial?" he asked, his voice steady but his heart racing. The elder's eyes, cold as stone, narrowed. "You must enter the trench beyond the throne, a place where light does not reach, where creatures of the abyss hunt anything that dares to swim. There lies the stone of trust. Only those with courage and truth may claim it. If you return with the stone, you are her true protector. If you fail, you are nothing." Jack's chest tightened, but before he could speak, Soraya stepped forward, her violet eyes blazing. "He saved me already. He risked his life in the storm. Must he risk it again?" The elder's gaze sharpened. "Sacred law binds him to more than words. If he is your bonded one, let him prove it." Jack placed a hand on Soraya's shoulder, his voice calm. "It's all right, Soraya, I'll do it." Her grip tightened on his hand, fear flashing in her eyes. "You don't understand, Jack. The trench is death. No one who enters comes back the same." Jack gave her a small, tired smile. "Maybe, but I didn't come this far just to let you face this alone." Later they stood at the edge of the trench, a black mouth in the ocean floor, glowing faintly with blue runes. Jack wore only a pressure suit given by the guards, a blade strapped to his leg, oxygen tubes feeding him air. Soraya stood beside him, her eyes shimmering with fear and hope. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. Jack touched her cheek gently. "I do, because if I don't, they'll never let me stand by your side." The guards activated the runes, and the trench opened like a living gate, releasing a current that pulled Jack into the dark. The water swallowed him, his light flickering against ancient stone. Shapes moved in the shadows, too large, too fast. His breath echoed in his helmet, his heartbeat thundering louder than the currents. Deeper he went, pressure pushing against his chest, until the glow of the sanctuary above was gone. Ahead, a faint shimmer appeared, resting on a jagged rock at the bottom of the trench, the stone of trust, glowing like a star trapped under the sea. Jack swam toward it, but the water shifted. From the dark, a massive creature emerged, its body long and scaled, its eyes glowing red, its teeth rows of blades. It circled him slowly, as if tasting his fear. Jack's hands tightened on his blade, his breath sharp. The creature lunged and he twisted, slashing at its side, the blade biting deep. The beast roared, its sound shaking the trench, bubbles exploding around him. Jack fought with everything he had, dodging its teeth, stabbing again and again, until at last the creature vanished into the dark, leaving trails of blood behind. His lungs ached, his strength fading, but he forced himself forward, reaching the glowing stone. It pulsed under his hand, warm, alive, as if it recognized his will. Clutching it tightly, he turned and swam upward, the trench trembling around him. When he finally broke the surface of the sanctuary waters, the crew gasped. The guards stepped back in shock. Jack climbed onto the pier, dripping and bleeding, but alive, the stone of trust glowing in his hands. Soraya ran to him, her violet eyes wide with tears. "You came back," she whispered, her voice shaking. Jack handed her the stone, his voice rough but steady. "I told you, Soraya, I don't quit." The elder bowed his head at last, his coldness melting into respect. The law has spoken. He is her true protector. And as the crowd bowed to Soraya and Jack, the bond between them burned brighter than ever. No, but only law but choice. Not only survival but destiny. The stone of trust glowed in Jack's hands, its light reflecting across the undersea throne hall. The guards who once doubted him now bowed their heads, and even the stern elder lowered his eyes in respect. Soraya stood tall beside Jack, her silver skin shimmering, her violet eyes burning brighter than the stone itself. "The bond is proven," the elder announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The heir lives, and her protector stands with her." The people murmured, awe and fear mixing in their voices. For the first time since she had been thrown into the sea, Soraya felt the weight of her crown return to her shoulders. But this time she was not alone. The council gathered, robed figures with eyes as sharp as blades. One stepped forward, his voice dripping with doubt. "She was gone for too long. How do we know this human did not place false claims upon her name?" Soraya's chin lifted proudly. "Because my blood does not lie. The law itself binds me to him, and you know what that means." Still, tension clung to the air. The kingdom was divided, some ready to kneel to her, others waiting for her to fail. Jack saw it in their faces, envy, hatred, and fear. He leaned close to her, whispering, "They're not all with you." Soraya nodded slightly, her voice steady. "I know, and they will try again." Their fears became real sooner than expected. As preparations began for Soraya's coronation, the cavern filled with light and music, but shadows lingered in every corner. The people gathered, eyes on their heir, whispers spreading that the queen's daughter had returned from death itself. Jack stood at her side, dressed in simple robes given by the council, his knife hidden beneath. He watched every movement, every face, his instincts screaming that danger was close. Soraya's hand brushed his, a small sign of trust in the chaos. At last, the elder raised his staff, his visio voice booming, "Let the heir of the throne step forward, let her crown be returned." Soraya stepped onto the crystal platform, her silver robes flowing like water. The crown, shaped like waves of pearl and light, was lifted high. But just as it was lowered toward her head, a scream broke through the hall. A figure leapt from the shadows, blade flashing. Jack moved without thought, his body colliding with Soraya's, pushing her aside. The blade sliced across his side, hot pain burning through him. He fell to one knee, blood spilling. The assassin raised the weapon again, but Soraya's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. "Stop!" The guards lunged, seizing the attacker, pulling back his hood. Gasps filled the hall. It was her cousin, the one who had sworn loyalty, the one who had stood at her side before she was cast into the sea. "You should have drowned," he spat, his eyes filled with rage. "The throne is mine. It was always mine." Soraya's face was pale, but her voice did not waver. "You tried to kill me in the storm, and now you tried again before the eyes of the people. Your treachery is done." The council roared in anger, demanding judgment, but Soraya ignored them. She ran to Jack, who lay bleeding, his skin pale, his breath ragged, her hands pressed against his wound, her voice breaking. "You saved me again, Jack, even when it cost you everything." His lips curved in a weak smile. "I told you," he whispered, his voice rough. "I'm not letting anyone take you." Tears streamed down Soraya's face, but she lifted her head high, her voice carrying across the hall. "By sacred law and by my own heart, he is my protector, he is my bonded one, and before all of you, I claim him as mine." The people bowed, the crown finally lowered onto her head, but Soraya did not smile, not yet. Her eyes were only on Jack. She leaned close, whispering, "You saved my kingdom, now to me save you?" Jack drifted between pain and darkness, his body weak, his side burning where the blade had struck. He heard voices echoing faintly, people calling for healers, Soraya's voice breaking through them all, filled with fear and fire. "Do not let him die. Save him. He is mine." Time blurred, but when his eyes finally opened, he was no longer on the crystal floor. He lay in a soft bed, covered in sheets that glowed faintly with healing light. Strange runes etched along the walls. Beside him sat Soraya, her hand wrapped tightly around his, her violet eyes rimmed with tears, but shining with relief. "You came back," she whispered, her voice trembling. Jack groaned softly, his throat dry. "Not sure I ever left." A weak smile touched her lips, and she brushed his hair from his face gently. "For days I feared you would not wake, but you did, because you are stronger than they will ever know." Jack shifted slightly, wincing. "And you? The throne?" Her shoulders straightened, pride shining in her gaze. "They crowned me, Jack. The kingdom has accepted me as queen, but they only did because of you. You showed them courage they could not deny. You fought when no one else would, and they will never forget it." He let out a tired breath, his eyes closing for a moment. "So you're queen now and I'm just... what? The human who got lucky?" Soraya's hand squeezed his firmly, her voice rising with strength. No, Jack. You are my bonded one. Not because of a law, not because of a stone, but because I chose you. Her words sank into him, warmer than the healing light. For the first time, Jack truly understood. This was not just about survival or law anymore. It was about belonging, about something stronger than fate. He looked into her violet eyes, and for a moment, the ocean, the throne, the kingdom, all of it disappeared, leaving only the two of them. Later, the hall was filled again. The people gathered to honor their new queen. Soraya stood tall, wearing the crown of pearl and silver, her robes flowing like water, but she did not stand alone. Jack walked beside her, his wounds wrapped, but his steps steady. The elder raised his staff, his voice carrying through the cavern. By trial and by law, by blood and by bond, Soraya stands as queen, and the human stands as her chosen protector. The crowd roared, voices echoing like waves crashing against the shore. Some bowed to Soraya, others to Jack, their doubt finally broken. For they had seen him face the abyss and return. They had seen him bleed for their queen, and they could no longer deny the bond between them. When the ceremony ended, Soraya led Jack to the balcony overlooking the glowing city. Lights shimmered across the waters. Creatures swam in graceful patterns, the world alive with peace once more. She leaned against him, her voice soft but filled with certainty. The sacred law gave me to you, but my heart chose you long before I spoke those words. Jack smiled faintly, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. So what happens now? Her gaze swept across the city, across the future she now carried. Now we rule together, now we rebuild, and now we protect each other, no matter what storms come. Silence fell between them, but it was not heavy. It was warm, steady, unbreakable. Jack thought of the storm that had brought her into his arms, the poison, the trench, the crown, and he realized everything had led here, to this moment. As the waves shimmered in the distance and the kingdom bowed to its queen, Soraya leaned close, whispering softly in the quiet night. The law bound me to you, Jack, but love made me stay.